Hello, in part 3 of the Hakuho build video I want to have a look at command and control. I'm going to use my usual power pack that powers all my Z gauge layouts, and this actually supplies, it has 3 Merklin controllers that supply 8V DC, 15V AC, and also supplies various LED power supplies, 3V, 5V and 12V, as well as also being the docking station for the NCE power cab, which is switchable by a key switch on the front. The control panel itself will be bespoke to the layout, built to my usual technique of a perspex top with the various sections blanked out in the colours matching the wires. The top angle of the panel matches the one of the power pack, so we have a nice thing. It has a hinge lid so that you can put your mobile phone and wallet away when you're at a show out of sight, and fits in the same box when it's being transported. On the left hand side you can see the Gauge Master electronic track cleaner. This is what used to be known as Relcos in the old days. This is held on a pair of kitchen unit clips. They're designed to hold the kickboards on kitchen units, but it does allow me to remove it to get to the tag strip behind and holds it quite securely. There's the 25 pin D plug that goes to the baseboard, and there's the SCART socket that takes the power from the power pack. And you can see how I've started to do the various section switches, wire them up. They still need the feeds put in them. And there is the blank at the moment 50 pin D plug for the point controls. The redundant or not used at the moment LED power supplies are brought off and just terminated as wires down here, safely out of harm's way. Section testing is done with a off-the-shelf multimeter with the ability to bell through a continuity check. This allows you to go from the actual running rail right the way through to the switch to make sure that you've got continuity. Each section and point control wire comes up to these tag strips and chocolate block collectors here. These make it fairly bomb proof when you're actually moving it around, that you've got a nice termination and a tag strip. Then up to the D socket. The cable is just a homemade thing with 25 wires, but all colour coded to match the colour coding of the wiring underneath, and those colours again go straight back through the control panel. So if you get a problem at a show, you can basically look at the circuit diagram and the feed list, follow that colour all the way down until you find out where the problem is. So I've now got the baseboard in an upright position, clamped down to the trestles it normally lives on, with the control panel bolted on top in its normal place, and the umbilical cord between the baseboard itself and the control panel in position. So I can bell through every connection of all the isolating sections, following the colour code up through the tag strips into the control panel there, and from there I can take each feed up to the switch on the hinge lid. Because of the colour coding on here, it's relatively simple then to put one end of the meter on the track, one end on here, and bell it through to make sure you've got a good connection through the 25 pin D plugs. Section switches are a fairly robust, medium-sized, double pole, double throw toggle switch. These prove to be fairly bomb-proof in service out at shows. So all the wiring on the control panel and power packs is happening outside in the workshop, but obviously when I come back in later on and sat in the office upstairs, it's nice to be able to keep doing things to keep pushing the layout on. So what I've been doing is downloading printable paper buildings off the internet from Japanese sites. These are predominantly N-gauge modern buildings, free. And basically what I'm doing is I'm scaling them down to Z, using them as in effect as 3D doodles to work out how I'm going to lay out the start of the town area. This is a typical one, which comes from, I mean the only English on it is papercraft, but you can see that already I'm starting to build up a nice street front of various different buildings. Some of these are also slightly weathered as part of the design, which is quite handy. They come in PDF format, so scaling them gets to be a bit tricky at times. I usually fool them by telling them it's printed on a different size paper, but this is a typical house in its flat form. The next sheet along is the instructions on how to actually put it all together. I'm not overly satisfied with the details on top, the air conditioning hole and the lift top, and I'm probably going to replace them with scratch built ones. As I cut them out, what I'm intending to do is print them out on the heaviest weight white cardstock that will go through my printer, but then laminate them up with thicker black card on the back. Black has the advantage of not letting any light shine through, and also stiffen it up, making sure that I miss the areas where the tabs fold over as you form the building up. I'm using normal spray adhesive suitable for paper or card to laminate them up. Usually a big heavy steel weight to hold them flat while the glue actually sets. The townscape's going to be the last bit that's finished. I've ballasted all the track. I've still got to tone it down because I've actually done the back of the layout in limestone ballast. This needs spraying brown down the centre to show the brake dust and stuff that lands on it. Wiring's complete now, I've just finished a control panel tonight. There's going to be some more extensive testing, and then the two photo extension boards on either side are going to get more development. I've now decided that the left hand side one is actually going to be a golf course. So in the next part you should see how I develop them next two scenic parts. So in effect 3 sides will be scenic. The good thing is that the layout's already picked up a load of bookings for shows next year, and will debut at Macclesfield show in March 2020. I'll post the dates that it's doing on the usual forums as it gets nearer the time, but it looks at the moment as if it's going out to at least 6 or 7 shows in 2020.